Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Africam show. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the show today. It is so wonderful to be with you all. I know so many of you are joining us from all across the globe, and it is wonderful to be starting off here with a beautiful elephant bull that has come to drink at Old Donyo. Isn't it always just lovely to have one of these gentle giants come and spend some time with us? Jean Gale, hello to you. You saying hello from a frosty morning in Seattle, and you are red blankets and hot coffee. That sounds fantastic. If I was cold. I am not cold. I am very warm, sitting in the low veld of South Africa, and we are having a toasty afternoon today in the low 30 degrees Celsius. Bashard, you saying hello from a cold, all caps Toronto, and that's in Canada. I can believe it. In the Northern Hemisphere at the moment is going through what I believe to be some of the coldest months that you get is January and February. So I do not envy you, I must say. I love the sunshine. Casper, you saying hello from Milwaukee, and you've got honey and ginger tea today. That sounds lovely. Jack, hello to you. Good morning. It's morning for quite a few people, especially coming from sort of part of the world where you are a few hours ahead of me, further into the east from where you are. April Owl, hello to you. You saying good morning from a sunny Connecticut. It's lovely to hear sunshine elsewhere in the world. You have got cherry iced tea today, and your kitty cat is sleeping by your side. That sounds fantastic. It's wonderful to have you here with us. Dear, you say also cold Seattle. You are ready with hot coffee, and thanks for being here, Amy. It's so good to be back with you all. And what a way to start. We have such a beautiful elephant here. This camera, the view is just amazing, isn't it? The angle that we get. And I love when we go close up like this. It really does show the size, that whole head sort of filling the screen, especially when the ears come out. And if you look closely, have a look at those ears, sort of the ends of them, very tattered, almost like they've been cut into small, fine little bits, like he has fringed ears. Here in East Africa, we've got the fringe-eared oryx, actually, and it looks like he's trying to channel his inner fringe-eared oryx today. But that's just a sign of wear and tear. As elephant bulls in certain habitats, especially ones that have thorn trees and thickets like we're seeing especially behind this elephant at the moment. Also in Southern Africa as well, particularly in the low veld, we see a lot of tears and cuts and things like that through the tips of the ear. And as an elephant's life wears on, that sort of very long lifespan that they have, so those little cuts sort of accumulate, and eventually those tears become more and more apparent. He also has a beautiful pair of tusks, I must say. Sometimes one can sort of have broken off, or both of them, or be quite short potentially, but these are really looking still in good condition. Although you can see towards the tips that they are quite sharpened, and I think he does use his tusks quite a bit for feeding and things like that. Also quite overcast today here at Aldonia. You can see quite sort of a heavy cloud overhanging this elephant. And also maybe not so hot because of that. You can see those ears are sort of moving, but they're not fluffy. He's also not splashed himself with water like we often see in the heat of the day. These animals come and immediately want to cool down. Splash behind the ear, splash on the side of the face, under the body. He's completely dry. Wow, look at that texture. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. Oh, I could look at close-ups of elephants and their skin all day. They are fascinating with their wrinkles. Very tough skin as well to be able to handle the harsh African climate that they live in. Full of melanin, the darker color, to help protect them from the sun. But surprisingly sensitive. I was reading, well, actually, I read it, but then I also heard from a colleague of mine about apparently it's been known that elephants can actually potentially feel a mosquito that bites them or irritates them on their skin. And I thought that was very surprising considering that they have got relatively thick skin, but he's sensitive. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't see oxpeckers sitting on elephants. They just can't handle that feeling and it irritates too much, so they chase them off. But I think it's because of that level of sensitivity within the skin, which is very interesting. Bashad, you want to know if the tusks continually grow over their lifespan? So yes, they do. It's one of those things that once the elephant has sort of reached its full size bone wise, so that calcium and other minerals, but mostly calcium that gets pumped into growing the elephant itself. Once those bones have reached full size, the excess calcium is actually able to be pushed into those tusks. And that's why we see these tusks getting extremely large towards the end of an elephant's life. And generally, our big tuskers that we find are older, 40 years plus at least. Mindy, interesting question. You say if the tusk is a modified tooth, which it is, I assume there's pulp. How far down does it go? So it's actually interesting. If you take or you look up a cross section of an elephant tusk, it's actually hollow, closer to the top. It's part of what helps sort of with the weight of them, I guess, as well. But it's hollow and then it becomes solid towards the tip. And yes, so as that tusk, so you can see this is a beautiful angle you where it enters the sort of jaw there. It's obviously a skin covering, which is where the tusk extends into the jaw. And then right where it joins the face, I think there's a lot of nerve endings, just like with our teeth, with the root. And that can be quite sensitive. So, Mindy, in that way, there's no pulp inside the tusk that we can see there. It's actually dry, from what I've seen in my own experience. But Mindy, there is a what they call a pulp canal, which basically runs during a section of the tooth, but the very tip actually closes up, and so the tusk, the enamel or the ivory on that doesn't have any pulp in it, but right in the center, as it goes up, and that pulp gets bigger or a larger section is made up of that pulp as it gets closer to the root of the tusk. Oh, well, this is a treat. Andy, you say good afternoon, Amy. What's new and exciting? Well, definitely buffaloes at Rosie's Town is new and exciting, I would say. Haven't seen a buffalo in a very long time. I was doing game drives recently in the northern Savi Sands, and we just did not see any signs of buffalo or buffalo at all. So it's really cool to see them arriving here and having a really awesome water bath pool party, buffalo pool party happening at the moment. Oh, that is a cute little one, isn't it? Woodpecker there. Is that a yellow-billed woodpecker? Can't really tell with the lighting at the moment. looked like there was a slight colour. Yeah, they are yellow-billed oxpeckers. That's cool. This little one, you can just see those horns coming up at the top of the head, and still quite brown in colour as well. Difficult to age it, I would say somewhere maybe around the 6 months or so. And something about buffalo calves that really are so sweet, especially when they are in a herd. I sort of just have to try and keep up. I suppose it's like that with elephant calves as well. But when it comes to herds of buffalo, it can sometimes be very overwhelming in comparison to elephant, I think, for the little ones. And this particular pan is not the largest. Amber, it is an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that you are enjoying the show. Glad you are having your coffee with it. Well, this is very cool. We don't always see ostriches at the waterholes too often. Well, experience anyway. So we're here in the Dikwe now in the northwest province of South Africa, and here we have a male ostrich. And really can tell it's male because it's black and white in color. Females are more gray, not as black. I'm not sure what he's doing with his wings, I suppose. That is what they are, even though ostriches can't fly. Sort of keeps like pushing backwards. So that's some sort of a cooling thing, which is quite possible, I suppose. It's fascinating to see how it's walking and moving its wings like that. Unless it's just brushing, getting rid of maybe insects or something like that. Quite possibly also gets eaten with flies and the likes of. Always feel like ostriches forgot to put on their pants. Their whole leg is exposed all the way up, right to the top. Mindy, hello. You want to know, do ostriches have a crop? So I believe actually that ostriches are the birds that do not have a crop. They instead have quite a large stomach, and I think that is, of course, due to their size, that it can hold a lot more food, including part of their stomach and their gizzard, which is the a bird's digestion looks like. So yes, interesting that they don't have the crop like we see in many other species, which actually holds that extra bit of food for them to digest at a later stage. Oh, there's also an impala in the background, but how beautiful is the scene here? I can't believe how green it's gotten. I feel like we say it every time, but it really is unbelievable how this particular area transforms. I mean, we see quite a few of these different waterhole locations transform, but Madikwe must be one of the greatest um, changes that we witness. Ah, it's come for a drink. That was very quick. That was all it's going to have. Bowl of Kittens, you have a comment about that buffalo herd we were looking at Rosie's plan, saying that this big herd seems to turn up occasionally, and how far might a huge buffalo herd range? So, a bowl of kittens, that really does depend on the season. So, in wintertime, where resources are a lot more limited, we'll find that buffalo herds, especially larger ones where there are so many. Oh, there we go. They're the buffalo that need water and food. They have to cover a much greater distance, and that can be potentially hundreds of kilometers if they need to. Daily, though, they sort of will cover, oh, it's difficult to say exactly, but it could be anywhere 10 to 50 kilometers if they needed to. But in the summertime, they can not cover very much distance at all because there's plenty of food and water allowed. And they don't need to go further. And I think that's why, like I was saying, I haven't seen buffaloes in a while, is because they are very satisfied wherever they are and not needing to actually further. And why expend that extra energy if you don't need to? And you're able to just stick to sort of one spot where you just walk 2 kilometers every day. Eventually, they'll probably uh, come back to certain areas, but the time between that is greater in summer. Just because, I mean, we see it with elephants and all animals really, that they don't, once they're in an area, they seem to stick to it. So it'll be interesting how much more frequently this buffalo herd is seen here now at this waterhole within the summer months in comparison to the winter. Well, we've come over now to the spot where there is a giraffe that's come to drink. Lovely to see. Namibia is also looking nice and green, just in time. lot of licking. Look at that tongue in and out. And actually, giraffes have this amazing thing that they do with their tongues where they like lick their nose, goes almost all the way. They've got such a long tongue, 40 centimeters, which is a significant length. And because of how their face is shaped, they can really do a good lick all around their nose and the front section of their mouth. Looks very calm there, I must say. Not too much wind going on either, just by the stillness of the reflection of this giraffe. It's always interesting to me to watch giraffes drinking and to understand the mechanism at work and how much effort it really takes for them to get down there. And this one, oh, this one's doing a different style, sort of leaning in on the left. I think its right leg is straight and its left one is bent. And here in this area at Onguma in Namibia, they don't really have to worry at all about crocodiles. So that wouldn't be something that they would need to sort of be cautious about, that they still are so aware. I mean, you see it at another location, also in Namibia, with the same story, no major river systems, so they don't have to worry. And at Okukuyo, and the giraffes still approach so carefully, having to check all the time. Oh, Mindy, it was awesome, wasn't it? I feel like a slight breeze picked up there now, distorting the reflection, but it was pretty much perfect there. It's always peaceful, isn't it? I love when these animals come, particularly elephants, I would say, more than any other species that we see. But even this giraffe, to just not be in a rush, take their time to drink and just enjoy the view of them. And not completely uncommon to see a giraffe on its own at all. Interesting now if he decides, yeah, that time to move on. Sometimes they can actually see each other without us being aware that there are others around. Ooh, beautiful. We've popped back up to Kenya and it's raining. If I am not mistaken, that is drops of water falling from the sky. Definitely a cooler day today here in East Africa. Wow, what a view. That is so cool. And this is definitely a different elephant from what I can tell just by the ears as well as the tusks. Slightly curvier forward and slightly thinner tusks as well from what we saw earlier. Wow, what a view. It's incredible the close that we're able to get because of these cameras. And like I say, these animals just take absolutely no rush for them. And it's difficult to gauge exactly how much a bull like this would be drinking at any one time. You know, we know on average that a fully grown elephant bull can probably hold about 10 liters or so of water in their trunk. They don't necessarily fill it every single time. Maybe they only put half that amount in before they drink. So we have no idea actually how much at the end of the day they would be drinking. Can only guesstimate. But also, like I say, because they're in no rush, they could only be taking in just a few liters at a time to get to however many hundreds of liters they might need, also depending on the weather. Also interesting to notice that these bulls haven't decided to drink at the same time, from what I can tell. Then in the next one, sometimes we see 3, 5 elephants around here at the same time. But I think that also has to do with it not being the hottest day, so not a high demand hole. Even with other species, I mean, sometimes here in East Africa we have some incredible sightings with variety from zebra to eland, oryx, elephant, lots of birds, giraffe. Toru, you say you can hear a Cape turtle dove calling. That is just one of the best sounds of the bush, I think, personally, to hear that Cape turtle dove, or otherwise known as a ringneck dove calling. Well, we popped over to the beautiful Olifants River, everyone, where we have some baboons hanging about here in the lower, sort of under the shade of this sycamore fig tree. And waterbuck. And these trees are so iconic. You really can't mistake them, and often found so many of them along these permanent river systems, even non-permanent, to be honest, but very much love these areas. Such a beautiful tree. That's a beautiful waterbuck as well. Lovely horns on him. Those togs. Or am I? Oh, they're also waterbuck. Oh, there we go. I think that's a bushbuck. It's like this is very small. Bushbuck. Not something we always get to see, I must say, on the show, just because bushbuck tend to be very secretive, often seen around camps and things like that and lodges, but not so much out on safari. I will be honest, it's quite rare to see relative to other antelopes. But if to look for them, if they are within a certain area, they're probably quite fine. species of Africa, 6 species of hyrax across in Africa and Asia. And the tree hyrax and the rock hyrax are 2 different species. They have 2 different scientific names. So it's not that they are a subspecies one of the other. They are actually completely within the same family, of course, but not subspecies of one another. And yes, there is not necessarily called a hyrax family, but the hyraxes are part of the Prochyvidae family. That is taxonomically where they fit in. That's to answer your second question. And yes, they really do climb trees. I saw where did hyraxes? I think it was in northern Kruger. So they absolutely do climb trees. And I'm not sure if we can see them on any of the Africam cameras. That's a great question. We definitely see the rock hyraxes at Stony Point, and they can really pop up anywhere along the way, I suppose, depending on their distribution. There we go. So we haven't seen tree hyrax yet, which does make sense. They're a little bit, I suppose, trickier to see with them being in the trees and that sort of thing. Like you say, you saw them at Explores Impala Waterhole, which it's really cool that you have seen them before at that particular waterhole. Now that I'm just remembering, I saw in northern Kruger was the yellow spotted, which is just a subspecies of the rock hyrax. Just to correct myself there. They mostly, the tree hyraxes are seen in Afro-montane forests or coastal forests in KwaZulu-Natal and in the Eastern Cape, particularly within South Africa. But fascinating question, Kuru. Thank you so much for asking it. Well, we've popped across now to Tembe to end off the show, everyone. Fantastic being with you all. Wow, what an awesome afternoon. It's just gone by far too quickly. But thank you so much for joining us here, and I really hope that you enjoyed the show. Goodbye for now.